Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal, I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s to present, mostly large sharks, and we're going to dive right in. We're going to head over to the North Rat Cay Reef, which is over there in the Bahamas. The date is Saturday, June 26, 1982. Phillip Sweeting is 19 years old. He's out spearfishing, and he's got one hogfish on the floor of the ocean already that he's gotten, and he has another hogfish on his spear that's bleeding. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's a half a mile from shore and in 8 feet of water. He's sitting there, and all of a sudden a lemon shark comes up, and he says it brushes him right on his side, which knocks the bleeding fish and spear out of his hand. And now he doesn't have anything to fend off this shark. It goes a little ways away, and they say it came back at him with some speed. Got him in a forearm. They said the forearm between the wrist and the elbow, and bit it off. So just bit that clean off. And then it went on its way. They were able to get him to shore. Pilot was asked to emergency fly a shark attack victim out to get some help. So he ended up surviving. He says he has no problem with the shark, said it was just doing what it does, which he's 100% correct. And that is our first attack, and we will move on. Okay, now we head over to Ironstone Point, Middle Harbour, New South Wales, Australia. The date is Saturday, December 26, 1942. Denise Burch, 15 years old. Her and 7 other friends are going out for an excursion on a couple of boats. The 8 of them jump in boats, and they head out, and they stop at Ironstone Point to do some picnicking, I guess. 2 of the boys are out about 50 yards from shore. They're swimming. The water's a little bit deep. Denise Burch is standing, they say, in the shallows close to shore, and it turns out less than 1 meter. They said a half a meter of water, so I'm saying just less than 2 feet of water. She's standing in water that's, up to your shins or whatever, and she's grabbed by a shark, and the shark jerks to pull her back into the water. She falls back. Now the shark's trying to get her into deeper water, and successfully does, and grabs her and pulls her underwater. Shark's sitting on top of the water, but it's got her under the water when the friends get there. And some of them have oars, some of them have sticks. They're beating on the shark. They say for minutes, for about 3 minutes, they're beating on the shark. It finally lets her go, and it disappears. They get her up onto the shore, and she was already passed away before they even got to her. They said that did grievous harm to her legs. Her legs were just torn up, and she probably bled out. So Denise Burch didn't make it. 2 feet of water. Said it was a bull shark, probably 6 or 7 feet. They didn't say how big, but I'm thinking it could have been 6 or 7 feet, getting into a couple feet of water like that with its head and grab you and pull you in. But it wanted to consume her, so that's going down as a fatality and consume, and we will move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Lighthouse Beach, New South Wales, Australia. The date is Monday, September 26, 2016. Cooper Allen, 17 years old. Him and 2 friends are out doing some surfing. When they're out, they don't say how far from shore or how deep. 9 o'clock in the morning, he's laying on his board. He says that all he can think of is the pressure that on his leg, and it's so much pressure, he says he falls off his board. So he's in the water, he pops up, and he's looking around because he don't know what happened, and he sees a fin cutting through the water. So he says to himself, I've just been attacked by a shark. Looks at his buddies, they're both looking at him horrified, because it turns out, the one buddy said that it grabbed him and was doing that thrashing and the slapping in the tail that they do a lot of times when they just grab a board, or when they grab anything and they're just feeding. So they were worried that something major was going to happen to him. Well, it turns out he's sitting there, and after he sees his friends look, he's telling himself, no, I've just been bumped. And then he looks down and he sees blood, so he knows he's been bit. So they put Cooper up on his own board. The one friend gets in front and is towing Cooper in. The other friend is staying back with Cooper to make sure the shark doesn't come back, because that shark followed them all the way into shore. Cooper needed stitches. He had 4 lacerations on the back of his leg. Lucky for him. It seems to have just did one bite and let go. It didn't even seem to do much shaking, so that tail stuff is just crazy, because sometimes it's not shaking you when it's doing that. You'd think the damage should be a lot worse, but yeah, he gets off good with only 4 stitches, well, 4 sets of stitches, and his friends end up helping him out, and that'll go down as an attack by a great white, but a non-predation. They said it was about a 3.5 to 4 meter great white, so you're talking 10, 11 footer. And that's our story of Cooper Allen, and we will move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Bailey's Rocks, Bingaloong Bay, Australia. The date, Sunday, January 11th, 2009. Hannah McGill, 13 years old. She's out doing some surfing with her 33-year-old cousin, Sib. And Sib is just taking a wave in. She is sitting 60 yards off the shore in 8 feet of water. He's taking a wave in and she's sitting on her board. She's not laying on it. She's sitting on her board, feet dangling in the water, probably looking for her cousin. She decides to look down and she says by her foot there's a huge dark shape. And she said that the head looked like it was a meter wide, 3 feet wide, which I'm sure it was. Is a 15-foot great white somehow snuck up on her in 8 feet of water without her knowing it was at her feet. Next thing she knows is she felt pain above and below her knee. So the thing grabbed her by the leg and tugged her off the board. She climbs back up to get on the board and it comes back, grabs her by the leg again and pulls her back into the water. Now it's got her under the water and Sib returns. Sib finally gets back and he is beating on the shark and it lets her go. He grabs onto Hannah and he's going to put her up on his board. She almost gets up onto the board when the shark grabs her board and takes off. And they have those leashes on your ankle with a rope to keep the board from getting lost. She goes with the board. Thankfully, the rope broke pretty quickly and she surfaced. They got her in. She had some extensive damage to her legs, but she didn't lose her leg. The surgeons stopped counting after 420 stitches. So it's a pretty major attack, but you know, I think that people would say test bite or, you know, curious. I just think that it was territorial. It didn't want them around. So, I don't know. I guess it could fit into both of those, but that's definitely not a predation attempt. It is an attack by a great white and a survival. So we'll mark that on the board and we shall move on. Okay, we're going to head over to South Africa to False Bay, a spot called Depot Sagat, popular surf spot. The date is Thursday, April 19th, 2012. David Lillenfeld, 20 years old, him and his younger brother Gustav are out waiting on a wave. You don't say how far or how deep. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden he's hit. He's hit from the bottom by a great white, which didn't really get a good bite on him, goes around, comes back at him. I guess it didn't hit him again. And then the third time, there was just blood everywhere when it hit him. So there's two. His brother Gustav tried to get over to him as the shark was attacking to him, but the waves were too high. There's no way he could get over there. He took a wave in. Up on the rocks on a cliff, there were a couple was up there taking a break from a drive, I believe it was, and they saw this all taking place. They were up on the rocks. They looked down. They see this huge great white, about 20 to 30 meters, they said, away from the boys, heading towards the boys. They're screaming, trying to get their attention, and they're up elevated. Nobody can hear them on the beach. Nobody can hear them out in the water. So they don't know how to get down there. They're tourists. They don't know how to climb down the rocks to help them out. So all they can do is sit and watch. And they watch as the shark gets about 10 meters from it and it disappears. And then it comes up from underneath David. And it must hit the board because they said there wasn't blood in the water at that time. And then it went and it came back at him again and took another shot at him, but they still didn't see any red in the water. The third time, the woman said that it came back and there was it turned red instantly, deep red, so they knew he lost a lot of blood. There was another witness that was on his phone with his wife at the time. He looked out and saw the shark and said, call the police, call the fire, call the ambulance, there's about to be a shark attack. And right then the shark went at him, so it hit him the first time. He again says that there was no blood the first 2 shots. It hit him from underneath and then it came up from the side. He said the third time it came at him, it had its mouth open and David had his board up against the teeth, pushing. And he said that lasted about 2 seconds and then the shark took him under and blood stained the water. This is a strange shark to be doing this. Shark stuck around the area, didn't leave, stuck around for hours after this. The leg was floating in the water, and David's body had floated near the rocks. A couple bystander witnesses were able to grab him, pull him up on the rocks, but he had already passed away from his injuries. When paramedics got there, the shark was there. The leg was still floating in the water, so they weren't able to help him out. They said he pretty much bled out right when he was bit. Bit off his leg, bit it off at the hip, so just took it right off. Didn't try to eat him though. This shark wasn't going to be happy with biting a board like they sometimes are. This one wanted to get at him and did. And once it did, it was fine. I mean, that is one of the craziest shark stories that it just won't give up. So that's David Lillenfeld, another fatality, not trying to consume him, and that's the way that'll go down. And we will get on to our provoked segment of the show. Okay, now it's time for our provoked segment of the show. You are an idiot. Today's idiot is named Henry Kreckman. In 2016, he sees a 20 nurse shark swimming by in the water and reaches down and grabs its tail and lifts it up out of the water. About 3 feet long, they said, but he has it lifted up out of the water. Now there's kids around, the beach is busy, and he's asking the kids if they want to pet it. Well, there's a 9-year-old boy by him. He says, no, I don't want to pet it. Well, right then the thing breaks free of Henry's grip and latches onto that boy's chest. So now he's got the shark stuck to his chest. They end up getting the shark off. It ended up just tearing his shirt. He had a little bit of like abrasions from where it kind of gripped onto his chest, and then a couple little punctures on the bottom. Very minimal damage, thank goodness. The problem with those is many times those sharks don't want to let go, and they have to be removed surgically. So they have to cut them sharks off because they don't want to let go. This guy's lucky it didn't hang on. He's lucky it didn't damage that boy, but either way, I mean, you're going to hold the shark up out of the water and ask kids to pet it, and one of them gets bit. Oh, talk about an idiot. Henry Kreckman, congratulations, you are a huge idiot. So that's how you're an idiot for the show. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back in a few days with a full episode of attacks just like this, and I hope to see you then. But remember, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.